Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another edition of the Ringside Rundown podcast. My name is Eric Vasquez, and joining me on the line is my podcasting partner in crime. Yes, that rhymes, coming straight from the Berg. She is none other than Shay Hickson. Shay, how are you, my friend? How is your week?
Better than it was last week. I feel like we need to apologize to the listeners because I know we promised an episode, and then I proceeded to, much like it seems like every other person in the country right now, got sick. And yeah, I was on death's door there for a little bit. It wasn't COVID or anything, thankfully. It was just a really shitty like head cold, and I try to push through when I can, but when it comes to those kind of things, I would rather be as focused as I possibly can be. And when you're sick and stuffy and just overall miserable, it's just not a good time. But you know what? We made it through. I'm back from the grave. Steelers are in the playoffs
I was
somehow,
going to
and
ask you about that. That's what the one thing I wanted to ask you about was your reaction to the missed field goal, because
it
that's a sports fan's
honestly,
dreams right there if your team ends up winning because of that.
yeah, because we didn't end up going to the game because it's just tough when it comes to like Sunday or like Monday night games because I have to get up at 5:30 in the morning to go to work.
Right.
So little tough to go to a game that is usually 8:30. You take the subway back to the apartment. By the time I get home, it would have probably been 1, 2 in the morning. So it's
Jeez.
just like we'll just watch it from home. I was still sick anyway, so I was like, we'll save it. And that fourth quarter to me just felt like neither us or Baltimore wanted to win that game because one of us would make a dumb play and then the other would capitalize on it and then they'd make a dumb play and it was just back and forth the whole fourth quarter. And I remember I remember us missing that point after, which apparently actually got blocked. I guess that's the thing now is that Boswell didn't actually miss it. It got blocked.
Ooh.
But at the time, I'm sitting there going, of all fucking times, the most automatic kicker in the league misses like an extra point is when we need him to not miss an extra point. And so we're just sitting there. We honestly resigned ourselves to the fact we were going to lose. We honestly didn't really have a lot of faith going into that game to
Uh,
begin with because our defense is good for the most part, but our offense is very like wishy-washy
right.
and the first half of that game was terrible. So they had that good kick return at the end of the game. I'm like, oh, well, we're really fucked now because all they need is just a field goal. And then we gave up a couple of those plays, and I'm like, we're done. Like, we're fucking done. It's over, whatever. And so the kicker for Baltimore comes out, and I looked at mom and I said, well, I guess we don't have to worry about you getting charged for the playoff tickets because obviously my family has season tickets. So if we would have made it in, we'd get charged for our seats for the game. And not even 5 seconds later, he misses it, and I'm like, you have got to be fucking kidding me. So, yeah, so long story short, we're going to the game on Monday.
Nice.
So, and honestly, we were kind of on the fence about it because again, it's a night game on a Monday, so that's just a recipe for disaster. But I don't know if we're going to stay the whole time. It just kind of depends on how the game goes. But surprisingly, I've actually never been to a Steelers playoff game
Wow.
for as long as I've been a fan. Normally, my parents would go, and every time they went, they lost, so they just stopped going. So I'm like, I gotta at least go. I gotta at least see the atmosphere and everything, and hopefully they'll pull through. But I genuinely don't know how that game's gonna go. But I'm glad you guys won though too. Last
Oh
game of the
yeah,
season.
wow. Yeah,
Well,
whoop-de-doo.
it was, yeah, but it was funny though because my dad he always like looks through the scores and stuff afterwards, and he's just like, yeah, I was watching that game, and I was really glad that they could pull through for Eric. So
Yeah.
he's
Well,
thinking of, yeah, like,
thanks.
wasn't all bad.
Yeah, we just end up, our season was so shit that the only thing we had to look forward to was hopefully getting the number one pick, and we can't even do that right.
Yeah, it's just
Uh,
an icing on the cake for you guys. It's just like the one
uh,
game you should have probably lost. You're like, no, we're gonna win this one,
yeah, this
just
this is why
because.
I'm a baseball fan overall.
Well, I can't say the same because I'm in your shoes when it comes to being a baseball fan,
Yeah.
but Yeah, I mean the Penguins are doing good right now, so
There you
there's
go.
that, and
There you go.
so we'll see what happens.
There you
But
go.
I don't know.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, contrary to what you've been listening to, this is not an NFL podcast or a general sports podcast. This is a pro wrestling podcast where Shay and I talk about what's happening in the world of professional wrestling, whether it's WWE, AEW, TNA. It doesn't matter. If it has something to do with wrestling, we're going to talk about it. And we have a little bit of a makeup to do. We weren't able to record an episode like you talked about. We had a little bit of an illness, so we had to push the episode back, which subsequently didn't allow us to fully cover AEW Worlds End. But we feel like it's important to talk about what we feel, what was important on the show, what we enjoyed. So, AEW Worlds End overall, what'd you think about the show? What'd you enjoy? What would you have changed? Go ahead and spill it.
Honestly, I thought overall it was a pretty solid show. I think like we always say our big thing is, was this worth the money to see? You know, did we just like waste our money watching this entire pay-per-view? And I think for the first time in a few pay-per-views, I think at this rate, I can actually say that I didn't really feel like it was a waste of money. I thought it
Mm,
was pretty solid for the most part. Again, there's always those few matches where it's like, were they good? Yes, but do they really need to be on the show? No, but they also weren't like bad that were like, yeah, they really shouldn't have been on there. It was just kind of like a, yeah, I mean, it shouldn't have been on there, but it was, and it didn't like take away from the card. But yeah, definitely had some standouts. Definitely had I feel like going down the line, I feel like there maybe was only like one match I just wouldn't have put on the card, and I think
mhm.
it was probably the most obvious one, but even then it was good. I feel like I don't think we're going to talk about it too much, so I would have just taken Gabe Kidd and Darby Allin off the card because it was just kind of a, okay, this could have been a great Dynamite or Collision pay-per-view, and I think we even talked about that in the predictions, that it was just kind of like thrown together
Right,
for no reason whatsoever.
right.
It was still a good match though. I mean, it was a lot bloodier than I thought it was going to be because good God, it was a little harder than I was expecting, but it was still pretty good. I mean, wasn't terrible. But yeah, other than that, some of my favorite matches of the night were, I mean, definitely the Continental Classic matches, even though they fully did not go the way, for the most part, we thought it was going to go.
Right,
I mean, we fully thought we were gone right out of the gate when they started with Okada and Takeshita, which that was a fantastic start to that
right.
pay per view. Absolutely fantastic. I mean, we expected it. Could we still wish it would have been like the finals? Yeah, absolutely. But whatever. Um, yeah, very back and forth, as is the usual commentary we have with an Okada match, is that it started off really slow, but it got really good towards the end. Had to bring in the goddamn screwdriver and kind of
Mhm.
screw Takeshita out of it a little bit, so we were already 0 for 1.
Yeah.
And then, uh, and then we can finally say that after 10,000 years, you finally have the belt back, thanks to Moxley. So, not too thrilled about that, but
just
I
on a
still,
whim too. Just on a whim, I said let's go for Moxley.
yeah. Well, you thought it was easy choice for it to be Moxley, and I thought it was an easy choice with Fletcher, but clearly that's not the case. But I think that was another great match. I don't think it was as good, obviously, as Okada and Takeshita, but it was still fantastic. I think the one thing I like got out of that match was that maybe this will hopefully be the turning point that Kyle realizes that he doesn't really need to rely on the bullshit that the Don Callis family brings to win that match.
Right,
Because the worst part is, he was winning that match until he tried looking for the screwdriver.
right,
Like, that literally cost him the match. So all he had to do was just rest on his laurels and his talent, and he would have probably won. I would have gotten what I wanted, and clearly that didn't happen. So hopefully this is a wake up call for him because he's been in quite a few semifinal matches in these like tournament style whatevers and hasn't made it to the finals, hasn't gotten over the hump. So maybe this will be a wake up call for him. So those two matches are great. Loved the mixed nuts mayhem match. I hate saying that. It's such a weird name, but that was just fun. That was just a fun match. Obviously we weren't expecting a technical masterpiece, but it still was a very, very entertaining match. Um, absolutely love Jamie and Stat. That did not disappoint. That was definitely one of, if not my favorite match of the night, because it definitely lived up to the physicality. Those two beat the shit out of each other. Yeah, and then the main event happened, and I mean, I guess we should have saw it coming, but we really, I guess we didn't. We didn't. We thought we weren't gonna fall for the trap, but unfortunately, it happened, and MJF's the champion once again, and yay,
Yay, MJF.
yeah,
Uh,
woohoo,
Woohoo, yeah. I um
yeah,
I had a sneaking suspicion that they were going to put the belt back on MJF. It just feels stronger, like a stronger AEW when they have a solidified champion. I just feel like Samoa Joe wasn't he didn't necessarily need to be the transitional champion. They could have easily kept the belt on Hangman and could have done it that way with Hangman being the champion, losing to MJF and losing the title. Uh,
yeah,
but
should have,
yeah, but other than that, I think AEW is stronger with someone like MJF as the champion. As much as that pains me to say, um, you
heard the
know,
pain in your voice there.
yeah, but I just think it was stronger. As far as the pay per view, I thought the pay per view was one of the AEW stronger pay per views.
Yeah,
Definitely kept my attention throughout. And what was funny was originally when the spot happened where Okada used the screwdriver on Takeshita to get the win, I was
hmm,
hot. I was pissed.
yeah, yeah,
I thought it was a shit finish. I
yeah,
thought, how could you have such a good match and have one of the worst finishes I've ever seen? This is
hmm,
what I literally put in my notes. But I think the idea with Kyle Fletcher wanting to find that screwdriver and Okada just kind of ruining Fletcher's party, I think is a telling story. Like you said, maybe get Fletcher away from the Don Callis family. But I thought that redeemed it because at first I hated it. I hated the screwdriver
yeah.
finish. Um, but I think the idea of letting Kyle Fletcher kind of go crazy looking for it and can't find it, because it makes sense. He was the second match. He was probably getting ready for his match, so he couldn't watch Okada do his thing. So he
Yeah.
didn't see Okada toss the screwdriver under the ring. Um, so I thought it was okay, but it's interesting to see where Kyle Fletcher's gonna go. And shout out to John Moxley. I'm not the biggest John Moxley fan, but
Yeah.
the fact that he had those matches and they were so good and they didn't need any blood or any
No.
theatrics was phenomenal.
Yeah, and I thought it was I was waiting for the whole like backstab or like the excommunication from the Death Riders was gonna happen that night, especially with the promo he cut after he won, because it was like he did a complete 180 from what he like made the Death Riders for, was that he hated how AEW was like becoming as a company and he needed to change that and he was going to lead the revolution and whatever, and then all of a sudden he goes through a tournament and now he's the like kind of rah company guy again. So you can see it from where, oh well, the Continental Classic like renewed his hope in AEW and wrestling as a whole probably or something, and that's great and that's what gets the fans on your side. Now I feel like it's just only a matter of time, because just because he's in that mindset doesn't mean the rest of the Death Riders are, and I guarantee you not a single one of them are. So it's a matter of time before the shoe drops, and it's just a matter of who's going to lay out the hit. I still think it should be Marina. I feel like she's done more than enough to prove that she could lead that group because she's just a badass. So maybe that'll happen. Maybe it won't. It might be Claudio. I don't really see it being anybody else. So it's one of those two. But yeah, it was some of Moxley's better matches that we've seen lately, and I'll definitely take that though, because sometimes those seem to go few and far between. So you take it when you can get it.
Yeah, definitely for sure. But again, solid pay per view from AEW. One of their better shows of the year.
Yeah.
And it was one of the ones that they didn't really need to rely on doing too much. They didn't need to go crazy.
No.
They just needed to have a solid pay per view, and they delivered. So I think it was well worth the money spent.
Yeah, see, that's that's the first time you've heard us say that in quite a while. I
Yeah,
feel like it has been quite a while.
which is weird because there's a lot of fanfare around AEW. You saw Sports Illustrated came out with their year-end wrestling awards, and AEW swept everything except one
Yeah.
category. And no slight to AEW, but I don't know. I'm struggling to find how one was better than the other, and not to say WWE was great this year. WWE had its highs and it had its lows. It was a pretty average year, nothing too crazy for WWE, but AEW being better than, I don't know,
Eh,
because I had such a hard time with some of the pay-per-views, and some of the shows, like especially like when they would do those 3-hour shows.
yeah.
Man, those are killer
Yeah.
because it's just all, it's like a sandwich of just a bunch of different shit, and you're just
Yeah.
like, how the hell am I going to consume this in 3 hours? And it's just like a chore to get through. So I was struggling to find the logic in how AEW had a better year than WWE. I think
Yeah.
WWE had the leg up because um I think the storytelling, which is something that AEW kind of lacks. The
Yeah.
storytelling, like they have stories. They have stories, but one thing that WWE does very well is that nothing on the show is wasted. Everything
Yeah.
has a story attached to it. Whereas in AEW, you'll get some stories, but you'll also just get some shit thrown together to see if it works. You know,
Yeah.
and it's not, it's not for everyone. It's wrestling is subjective. So I guess that's
Mhm.
the saving grace of it, is that wrestling is subjective. However you consume it, is as long as you're enjoying it, that's all I care about.
Yeah, I'm wondering if maybe they perhaps, and I feel like unfortunately it was kind of unavoidable. They couldn't help but consider the outside factors maybe around the companies as to why they thought AEW was the better company, because
Mm,
it didn't seem like they were having a new controversy every other week.
right,
So
yeah, that's true. That's a very good point.
that probably had something to do with it. So yeah, maybe AEW's product wasn't as overall as perhaps good or as maybe just consistent as WWE's. However, people stomached AEW a lot better than WWE this year for a variety of reasons. So I feel like that probably had something to do with it, at least a little bit,
Mm,
even if they don't want to admit it. So I think that was more it than anything. But yeah, I mean, if you still enjoyed WWE, good on you. If you enjoyed AEW, good on you. Because like you said, it's subjective. We all like what we like.
yeah, as long as you're enjoying it and trying your best to be a positive wrestling fan, because wrestling, and as far as the fandom and the community of
Mhm.
it, has gotten
Negative.
very toxic. you
Oh yeah,
know it's
yeah,
very toxic, and everybody's trying to get their tweets off and get the likes and the retweets and get the attention that way, because social media attention is what makes the world go round these days. So it's
yeah,
like, as long as you're a wrestling fan that tries to be positive and understands that it is subjective, and that everything can, like, one thing that I may like, you don't have to like, and that's perfectly okay. Like,
yeah,
it's a democracy in that way. So again, like, I like, that's why I said I'm perfectly happy that AEW is getting that recognition, because I think AEW is very important to the rest of the wrestling world. I am always pulling for AEW no matter what, whether I enjoyed something or I didn't. I am always pulling for them, because it's important that everybody has a job and that can provide for their family. So why would I want AEW to go out of business? That's the dumbest thing possible as a wrestling fan, is to want a company to go out of business. What do you think? WWE is just going to absolve every single aspect of AEW if AEW was to go out of business? No. We didn't see that with WCW, and we would never see that with AEW if that was the case. So I am very happy with AEW. I'm glad that they're finding their footing and they're getting back to what makes them a great wrestling product.
I agree because we've said it many times. At the end of the day, when not just one singular company is doing well, but multiple as a whole, it helps wrestling as a whole be better because you have more opportunities, you have more people coming up through the ranks, you have pretty much everything. You make more money because unfortunately that's the big thing. So it's just like when multiple companies in wrestling are winning, everybody's winning. So it's just better that way. And then it's also not it's just nice to not always have to hear people complain all the time. I mean, there's
Yeah.
always going to be people complaining anyway. Like, you could literally just go on Twitter and be like, I like this wrestler, they're my favorite. And someone could easily just go into a like thesis statement of why your opinion sucks shit and you're wrong. So it's like, okay, buddy, whatever makes you feel better, I guess. But
Yeah.
yeah, just let people enjoy stuff.
Yep, that's what it is. Let people enjoy stuff.
Exactly.
All right.
So,
So we're
all
gonna
right.
get back to our regular format tonight and answer some questions sent in by our loyal listeners. That's basically how we do things here. If you're a first-time listener, our favorite part of the show is answering questions sent in by loyal listeners because we feel it's important to let the listeners dictate the type of show that they want to hear. So if you have a question that you would like to send in, we will let you know at the end of the episode how to submit a question for the next episode. And don't worry, we answer every single question that is sent into us via social media. So don't you worry. If you have a question, we will get to it on the episode. But we have a couple of questions in for tonight of various groups of topics. So let's get right into it.
All right, let's dive in. So we're gonna start off with mom's questions. And she started off by saying great win by Rhea and Io. So congrats to them. Yes, they did win the women's tag team titles last night on Raw. I did not get to watch it. I was busy, but from what I saw, it looked pretty good.
Yeah,
Crowd lost their shit, understandably, and yeah, good for them. It's nice to see Rhea with some. It's nice to see both of them really with some gold again. So
right.
yeah, good for them.
Yeah, it was a really good match, but you got four solid competitors in there. You just know that
Yeah,
they're gonna deliver a solid match, and they really did. They got the crowd high. I think it was a smart idea to start the show off with Rio. I said it anyway.
literally. Yeah, literally though.
Rhea and Io and the Kabuki Warriors. I thought it was very smart to start off the show with that match. Rhea again. I think I said it like last week, and Mike ended up backing me up. He said it perfectly. There's levels to the crowd reception. There's levels to
Yeah.
pops that you
Hmm.
get. You get a good pop, that's good, but Rhea Ripley just gets those roof blown off type
Oh yeah.
receptions when her music hits. So she's a superstar. And I think I'm trying to find, because WWE is in a weird spot right now where whenever they have title matches, you really cannot predict which way it's gonna go. I used to
No.
always remain that, like, you wanted the long title reigns, and for the longest time, a few years ago, we were getting long title reigns with like Gunther holding the Intercontinental Championship, Roman holding
Yeah.
the world titles and all that. So we were getting those long title reigns. Now it's a little different. Like you never know. Just they I guess they're going based on just crowd reception. You never know when
Yeah.
somebody
Maybe.
can end up losing their title. And it used to be, oh, the women's world tag team titles are cursed, but
Yeah.
now it's just, well, whoever's the hotter team, they deserve to be champions. I still reserve that Charlotte and Alexa should still be champions, and
Yeah.
we've already changed the belts, from one team to another. So it's a very interesting time in WWE, and I'm wondering what the philosophy is with title holders, because I think it's a good thing and it's a bad thing. Because it's a good thing because it's unpredictable. There was unpredictability going into that Braun Breaker CM Punk match,
Yeah.
because it's a world title match and you just never know with WWE what they're going to try to do. Um, But yeah, shout out to Rhea and Io. I think they're gonna make great champions. I think the women's division and the women's division in a tag sense is sort of heating up. So I
Yeah.
think we're gonna be seeing some very good stuff from them.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's yeah, the title reigns, like, I don't know. I don't know what's up with them. Maybe they just think it's like they don't want people to get too complacent, maybe. I don't even know. I don't even know how to describe it. It's just it's something. It's a thing that happens, I guess. But on that same topic, are we surprised that two titles changed in one night? Um, not entirely, because I feel like sometimes, and I'm not going to say that this is the exact reason why, but it probably wouldn't surprise me, is that when they have these like co-branded nights or like those special type of nights, like, because I think it was Stranger Things nights, if I remember correctly,
Right.
on Raw. So maybe they thought, oh, well, we need to like cross promote and brand and whatever, and we want people to get eyes on this. So maybe it'll be a big deal if we change more than one title, I guess. I don't really know if that's the full on reason. It probably had something to do with it, maybe, but I don't know. But I guess I'm just not surprised.
Yeah.
I don't know. What about you?
I think it's because the titles changing hands, specifically Kabuki Warriors losing to Rhea and Io and Maxine losing to Becky. I think what helps is it kind of makes sense. You're not caught off guard with the changing of the titles. You know, there's a no lose situation with these titles changing hands.
Yeah.
So again, it just goes back to what is the philosophy as champions in the company now? Are we gonna go for those long title reigns, or are we just gonna go with whatever we feel is right, no matter whether this person had a 2 week title reign, like Maxine Dupree, or
Yeah.
they had a substantial reign. Um, I kind of go back to the Maxine Dupree and Becky Lynch match
Mhm.
as like the signal where it's like all it's a shocking title change, but it makes sense in the right way. I think
Yeah.
Becky is a hot commodity right now. She's doing the whole Donald Trump gimmick on Twitter,
Yeah.
but it's entertaining. It's
Yeah.
entertaining because it's not offensive. You know, it's
Mhm.
not it's her spin on it and using it in a wrestling sense. And Becky's doing very good work right now, especially. I don't know if you've seen any of her vlogs that she puts
No.
out, but those things are hilarious. Hilarious. Like
She's good.
she instantly made Nikita Lyons look like $100 or $1 million on one of these vlog things, and it's just like she has that star power. The women
Yeah.
have a lot of star power right now in WWE. That's
Oh yeah.
why I think the title changes, which all happen in the women's division, are not a bad thing, because the women's division for WWE, it's got some depth to it, and they're cooking on all cylinders.
Yeah. I would completely agree. I've seen like Becky's tweets, and again, I'm just like, she's just fucking funny. It's
Yeah,
just, you just like sit there and you're like, you really are off your fucking rocker, but that's just how you're supposed to be. But she is always a good heel. She's always a good face. I mean, she pretty much she could do it all. Let's just be honest. She can do it all. And yeah, so it's not really surprising that she got it back, but I guess it was a little. No, you know what? No, it wasn't surprising. It was two in one night. Like I said, it just. I think it had something to do a little bit with the uh like cross promoting Stranger Things, whatever. Which apparently I am indeed missing out because I have never seen Stranger Things. So I don't
I'm
know.
actually watching it right now. I just started season 4. There's 5 seasons, so
Mm,
I'm coming close to the end of it. I think it's a great show. I think it's a great show. I'm just kind
yeah,
of bummed out they did this cross promotion, but like nobody from the cast was in the
didn't
audience.
care. Yeah,
You know,
yeah,
like nothing. Like you couldn't even get one of the B level cast members to
Nope.
like sit in the audience and do the camera panning thing like nothing. But hey, I mean, get that
Eh.
Netflix money.
Yeah, right. Literally, that's and well, and Netflix is, as of right now, owning most of WWE's premium live event library. So poor Peacock's counting its days. But
Yeah, I think the Peacock deal is done. I think it
yeah,
expired on the new year, so they kind of scrambled and pushed everything to Netflix, which I think honestly
yeah,
we're going to see Netflix get a leg up when the SmackDown deal goes and the NXT. I think everything this is gearing towards everything being pushed towards Netflix, which I mean
yeah,
is not a bad thing. I would like everything under one roof. We've talked about this countless amount of times how it's just ridiculous. You have to go through 4 or 5 different platforms just to consume one product. So
yeah,
if everything gets pushed to Netflix, I think that's a smart thing. But yeah, all of the PLEs in the WWE library are on Netflix now. It doesn't have any of the other stuff like the classic wrestling, the territory wrestling,
yeah,
anything like that. It doesn't have anything like that on the library. I don't know if they're gonna move that stuff, which is kind of a bummer because I always would gravitate towards more of the WCW stuff and everything like that more than the WWE stuff. I was just talking to a friend and we were just like, man, we really miss the WWE network, how easy
yeah.
everything was with the WWE network. So it's greatly missed.
I miss those days. I really do. 'Cause holy fuck. Again, I just, it drives me nuts having to go to 5 different places to watch one
Yeah, and it's
shows.
expensive and
Yeah.
you know these things cost money. It's the streaming thing was great because it was an alternative to cable and it was like this is a cheaper option and we get more
Yeah.
bang for our buck. Now it's just like we get bombarded. I mean, the amount of advertising that happens on an episode of Monday Night Raw that gets interrupted on Netflix, and I pay the higher tier of
And
Netflix not to get ads, and I
yeah, they
still
don't
get
care.
ads
Yeah.
during Monday Night Raw, and it's a bombardment of ads on top of ads on top of ads, and you wonder like, my God, how much money do these people need? Because it's ridiculous.
Never enough.
It's never enough.
It's really never enough. It's just yeah. It's just annoying. It's just really annoying, but capitalism.
Yeah.
What can we say? Great. All right. So this is going to be a very easy question for you, I think, because it's a very simple answer. Why does anyone care about Jericho going to WWE?
Hmm.
I mean, we know 2 people that don't care about him going to WWE, and it's the 2 people on this podcast right now. But I mean, it's at least safe to say that he's definitely done with AEW because everything with like Big Bill and Brian Keith are like all of the, what do they call, the stupid Jericho isms are gone. Like
Right.
they grubbed them clean of anything that had to do with him. So he's at least gone from AEW, but yeah, I feel like it's probably only a matter of time for him to show up in WWE just for, one last run. I mean, the easy answer could also be like the Royal Rumble just for
Hmm.
the surprise factor, but
Yeah.
if he didn't show up, I wouldn't be too upset, but
The
eh,
thing I am okay with as a person that does is not a fan of Chris Jericho is that in WWE he doesn't have freedom, you know, to
yeah,
just pitch an idea and he'll pitch an idea and Tony Khan's gonna run with it. Whether Tony
yeah,
Khan thinks it's a good idea or it's a bad idea, he's gonna run with
yeah,
it because it's Chris Jericho. Chris Jericho is the veteran. You don't want to
hmm,
upset the veteran. Like Chris Jericho had way too much power in AEW. Way too much
yeah,
creative power for being just the guy that was on the roster. And that was the problem. That was one of the things about Tony Khan where it was just like you got to be a boss. You got to rein this guy in because
Yeah.
who benefited from being aligned with Chris Jericho in AEW? It almost seemed like if you got sucked into the Jericho vortex, you're gonna have to crawl out of the muck.
Yeah.
We could have it could have happened with Hook. It could have happened with countless people. I mean, uh it's just everything he touched was in AEW was just like it was grandizing and fulfilling for him, but nobody else.
Yeah. Literally no one else.
Nobody else
Yeah.
benefited from it. So he can't pull that same shit in WWE. He's going to have to basically be a team player. And whatever they give Jericho, wherever they see fit for Jericho, is where he's going to have to go because WWE doesn't need Jericho.
No.
He's
At all.
yeah, he's not needed. This is just a nostalgia thing, you know?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is a nostalgia thing. Again, I'm not a fan of Chris Jericho. I think most people who know me know I'm not a fan of Chris
I
Jericho.
would have
But
never
again,
guessed.
like again, to be fair, like we talked about subjectiveness in wrestling, maybe he'll have a good run. Like
Maybe.
I'm not even being cautiously optimistic or optimistic. It's apathy. It's just
Yeah.
whatever. I have no say. If it was up to me, it'd just be like, dude, why don't you try a backstage role?
Yeah.
Why don't you try being a producer if you want to have that much pull with creative and how the show's gonna go?
Yeah. Well, that's not gonna happen because then he can't get his like 5 seconds of fame in the spotlight. So
Right,
that's never gonna happen, silly. So yeah, no, it's just a kind of a he'll leave when he wants to leave.
right.
That's pretty much it.
Right.
It's like sure.
That's the thing with wrestling. You hear it a lot with older wrestlers. Like leaving the spotlight and riding off into the sunset is a very hard thing to do if you've been popular.
Yeah.
If you've been on top of the hill, to walk away from that crowd buzz. And
Mhm.
like you said, if Jericho comes back in at the Royal Rumble, it's gonna be a big moment. He's gonna get a big reception.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
maybe the Royal Rumble's in Riyadh this year. So like
Yeah.
who's to say the Saudi crowd forgot about Jericho? You know,
Maybe.
this is the
I don't know.
dangers of running that major show in a place like Saudi Arabia. You can't really gauge the 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 fandom of it all just based on Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's I don't know. It's just then again, when it comes to like when it comes to wrestlers who may or may not be shitty people or just people that really shouldn't be given a spotlight anyway, they're very good at just kind of forgetting things happened or just, oh, well, we want the nostalgia no matter how shitty or stupid this may be, but we're just going to do it anyway. And you're pretty much just telling WWE that it's okay to continue to do that stuff. So if you're one of those people where it's like, oh, well, I mean, yeah, I was happy when he showed up and now I just really don't care anymore. It's like, well, you were a part of the problem. Like you showed them that it was okay to bring these people back because you're going to give them the big pop and that's what they want because whether WWE likes to admit it or not, it seems like all they really care about nowadays are like the numbers on Twitter or TikTok or
Yeah.
Instagram or
Oh
whatever,
yeah.
just social media numbers. So it can get millions upon millions of views, and they'll tout it as, oh, this was the third most liked video on our Twitter this year. What the fuck ever. I feel like that's what they say every other day. And then they'll just move on to the next thing. And so it's just like, okay, well, if you people really wanted change and you really wanted things to actually go the way you would like them to go, stop showing WWE that, oh, well, I'm just going to still give them the cheap pop though, but I'm not going to care afterwards. It's like, okay, you can't have it both ways.
Yeah.
Like, don't give them the reaction at all, and then they'll take the hint. But you guys give them the reaction, so they continue to parade these people out there, and then you wonder why we're stuck with certain people for so long because
Yeah.
you let it happen.
Well, yeah, and it's a foregone conclusion. He's gonna show up in WWE. He was getting chance last night during
Yeah,
Raw. Wherever whether they were sarcastic chants or just chants for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like you said, I think there is a certain subsect of the fandom that is just not tied into the internet and just
Yeah.
tied into the product that
Yeah.
WWE kind of taps into.
Hmm.
Um, and I think that's the case here with Chris Jericho.
Yeah, I agree. And just leave him alone. Leave him alone and just let him go away. But nope, you guys just have to keep feeding into it and then can't imagine why this shit keeps happening. But again, what do we know? We're haters, I guess. What can we say? All right, so Mom's last question is, what do we think will soon be a major story in wrestling? Someone jumping a promotion to another or a major firing?
Mm,
So what's going to be more likely?
mm.
Be a tough one because I could honestly be
Yeah,
either or.
yeah, it really could be either or. Um, I think the major story is that we're getting a lot of NXT call ups
Yeah.
on the main roster. I think they're wanting to shake up things in a certain way. You see the vignettes for Obafemi. Javon
Mhm.
Evans just signed to Raw. Jordan Grace is showing up on SmackDown. Trick Williams showing up on SmackDown. So I think the one thing to look out for is where are these people going to go? What brands are they going to be on? And what's going to happen to NXT? Because this is a different era for NXT where they're actually considered. You know, when NXT was around like the black and gold era, Vince McMahon didn't give a shit about NXT. Whereas now, you know, Triple H does still care about NXT and what happens in NXT. So I think the more interesting thing is going to be internally, how do these call ups from NXT factor into the main roster?
Yeah, exactly. I feel like I also heard too that there were rumors that they were considering Blake Monroe and JC Jane as well, which I
Mm-hmm.
mean that would be really cool to add more to the women's division. It'd be interesting to see where they go. I feel like I could see JC going probably to SmackDown and Blake going to Raw just because that's like the still kind of the A show and she's probably one of their bigger stars. So I feel like putting Blake on Raw would be the most ideal, I would think, or maybe they want to level it out a little bit and put her on SmackDown. I mean, either way, she's going to be great. It's
Mm-hmm.
just a matter of where they're putting her. But yeah, I feel like that's the secret third answer that we have, where it's like, I think it's going to be more of a who are the bigger names that are going to get called up soon. So it'll be interesting because it is kind of around that time, I guess. And then you also have to look out for after WrestleMania. But then again, that's been kind of, that's been kind of up and down the last few years. But yeah, I'm a little more interested to see some call ups and where they're going to go. And unfortunately, by default, who's going to take a back seat once they come up here because not everyone's going to get their moment on the cards. So who are they coming up to essentially replace?
Right.
Which sounds kind of shitty, but unfortunately, it is the truth because you only have so many roster spots. But
Right, and that's the way it goes. You're right, exactly. There's only a certain amount of roster spots available. So you know, it's the machine keeps going. That's the
yeah,
WWE is the machine keeps going.
spoke on the wheel.
Yep.
Just like Punk said, just another spoke on the wheel, and it's unfortunately it's true. You can try and fight it all you want, but that's just the unfortunate truth of being in a business like that. But alas.
Mm.
All right, so that's all of Mom's questions. So Mom, thank you as always. We
Thank you,
appreciate
Mom.
it. And let us move on now to Mike's questions. So he wants to know, do we have a favorite Tanahashi match or moment?
For me, it was getting to see Tanahashi live in New York City, back in 2014.
Hmm.
For there was a cross show between New Japan and Ring of Honor. They did a joint show together uh, at the Manhattan Center, which is
Yeah.
obviously a historic venue for wrestling. So getting to see that reception, because the funny thing was I had bought tickets for the show, and it's a balcony, like kind of like a theater sort of deal. So
Yeah.
I had bought tickets for the balcony section, which were cheaper.
Yeah.
The only thing
Mhm.
is there's really one elevator that runs throughout the Manhattan Center. So when I got to the venue, the people working for Ring of Honor, they saw me in my wheelchair and they were like, "Yeah, we're not doing that." So they ended up sticking me in the front row. I was
Oh,
basically
nice.
yeah, I was basically in the front row, and let me tell you, when it was two things, when Shinsuke came out and when Tanahashi came out, and when Okada came out too, because Okada wrestled on that show as well. But
Mhm.
when the Japanese contingent, especially Tanahashi, came out, I was seated around a massive like community of Japanese wrestling fans, and
Oh, so they were losing their shit.
they went absolutely berserk. You would have thought it was like Michael Jackson like
Yeah.
showing up. They were screaming, yelling, like just going bananas, and it was the craziest experience. Like you felt it. You felt that connection that Tanahashi had with his audience, and it was just a really cool experience to see him wrestle, and to you get the spectacle of it. Like, wow, that's Hiroshi Tanahashi. So yeah, just really massive love to Tanahashi, finally getting to ride off into the sunset. And the good thing about Tanahashi is he's not leaving wrestling. He's still the president of New Japan, so he's still going to be heavily involved. I think it just hurts him not to be in the ring. But
Yeah.
it was getting painful to a certain extent to
Yeah.
watch Tanahashi wrestle. So I'm glad that he's still getting to bow out with a little bit of health left, and we're not going to see him just completely disappear from wrestling.
Yeah. That it's definitely a good thing too because he's definitely a great benefit to the industry as a whole.
Mm-hmm.
I never got to see him live, which is a shame, but I feel like the moment that just sticks out to me in my head was in the lights out steel cage match. And it's gonna
Yes.
sound so silly, but it was just so funny when he tried to go up the ladder and everyone's just like, no, 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 just get down, please. I'll do it. And I think if I was remember Osprey was the one that's like, no, I'll do it. Don't worry about it, please. It was just it was just kind of funny because I feel like they kind of played into the discourse online of, hey, maybe he shouldn't be doing these matches because he has no knees and he's on borrowed time, so it's like, yeah, maybe this isn't a good idea. And so I just thought it was hilarious how they they kind of just got on the inside joke a little bit, and it was entertaining. It was just funny to me. I guess that's just the one thing that definitely stuck out. But
Definitely a classic moment.
it's just every time I see it like randomly on Twitter, it just gets me every time because it's just like, no, 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 please, like, please don't kill yourself. I'll fall off the ladder. Like, I'll take one for the team.
Yeah.
So I'm
Yeah.
glad that he had such good teammates because hey, there could have been some where they're like, no, no, jump off. Why not? And, yeah, take one for the team. We'll catch you, maybe, probably
Mm-hmm.
not, but yeah. So I thought that was probably the thing that stuck out to me the most. But
Yeah,
I agree.
definitely
I'm
go
glad.
back and watch any of the Tanahashi Okada matches throughout the history of New Japan.
Mhm.
Um, and the thing about Tanahashi is the reason he's so loved is because when New Japan was kind of downtrodden and like in a bad state, everybody was jumping ship and leaving
Yeah.
New Japan, but Tanahashi stayed. Tanahashi stayed through the muck and through the downtime to really bring back New Japan to its prominence. So I think that's why he's so loved and so revered. So he's had a wonderful career, and sad he won't be able to do it in the ring anymore, but still glad that he's still going to be a part of professional wrestling.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And he won't be jumping off of any ladders anytime
No,
soon. Thank
thank
God.
God.
Thank God. Save us all the horror, please. We don't need to see that. All right. So Mike's next question is Brian Alvarez said about a week or so ago that he just doesn't see it when it comes to Austin Theory. At the moment, Mike would pretty much agree with him. He reminds me of Sean Stasiak, great body, good in the ring, but minimal charisma.
Mm,
What do you think has to happen to get Theory to the next level? Um, it's tough because it kind of reminds you a little bit of Daniel Garcia, where it's
mm,
like you're great in the ring, and then you open your mouth and it's like, it's and unfortunately, as we saw with Garcia, being good in the ring unfortunately only gets you so far. You have to have at least a little bit of
Charisma.
charisma. Yeah. So I don't know what can be done to help. I mean, the worst part was that Theory was doing his best work when he was just a total idiot,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not the best way to get yourself up to superstardom is to be a total idiot.
Right.
So it's not great when you can only kind of get over in a one-dimensional kind of way. That's kind of a career killer eventually. So not the best, but I don't really know what could help him. I mean, and it is a shame because like Mike said, he's got the look. He's good in the ring. And then that's about it. So
Yeah.
what do you do with him? What can you do with him?
I think we just need to see more of him in the ring. And I think we need to
Yeah.
see him in the ring on a consistent basis. I think he should be a focal point, you know,
Yeah.
because if you make him a focal point, it's like you're going with the young guns, and that's the thing. I think he's a perfect fit for whatever they're trying to do with the vision now.
Yeah.
But he needs that thing. He needs something to
Yeah.
kind of make him the star in his own right, where he's not just kind of the shadow of everybody else in the group. I think
Hmm.
consistent matches, maybe a more aggressive style where he's kind of unhinged, and he can
Yeah,
be
like a darker side.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Like a darker side, a more aggressive side, a more dangerous side. Like he's unhinged. He's not right in the head. Um, Something like that. Just to give him
Yeah.
some sort of edge. That's kind of what he needs. He's very round.
Yeah.
He's very round. There needs to be some edge to him. Um, so I just think mainly getting him in the ring on a consistent basis, so that way people can see, well, at least he's really, really good in the ring and he's needed in that sort of way. But that's the
Yeah.
thing, when then they stuck him in the vision, it was a good thing because it made sense. But he's also in there with a lot of young guns who are trying to get to the top of the ladder themselves. As we saw, Braun Breaker had his world title shot last night on Monday Night Raw. Bronson Reed is still a hot commodity, and Logan Paul is Logan Paul. So you stick
Yeah.
him, in there, with those young guns. He's gonna have to fight to get that star power attached to him.
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely thinking too what you were thinking, where maybe just make him a more of a darker kind of grittier kind of character,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, yeah, you can be pretty and whatever all you want, but if you're dangerous, people can't help but have to take notice of you at some point. So maybe, and if then that doesn't work, then it's like I don't know. At that point, maybe it's just a lost cause. But yeah, you kind of just can't keep him on the sidelines or keep him like off to the side, because especially if he's not really doing much to get people to notice him right now, what are you gonna do? Like he's not really making himself like undeniable. You have to put me on this card every single solitary week and in big focal points too. So maybe if you kind of force it a little bit, it might force him to have to break stuff out. Who knows? But yeah, I do agree. Maybe get some more eyes on him, make him more of a focal point, and see what he can do. Because either he can make it or break it, and clearly he's gonna have to be the reason he has a good career or not. It's all pretty much up to him.
Yep.
Alrighty, which brand would we put Obafemi on?
Mm.
Oof. Oh, you couldn't really go wrong with either, honestly.
Really?
Feel like I mean, I feel like when it comes to a guy like Obafemi, you want him going up against people more his size, not
Mm-hmm.
because it's just the generic way to go, but it would just be like the most entertaining matches, I would think. Just putting two like monsters next to each other and just let them just beat the ever living shit out of each other in the middle of the ring. So I think for that reason, I'd say probably Raw. Because I mean, you could have him going against Bronson Reed, you could have him going against Braun Breaker, but I think on SmackDown he'd kind of, I don't know. I mean, but then again, you got McIntyre over on SmackDown, so I mean, you kind of couldn't really go wrong either way. I just feel like maybe, I don't know, maybe selfishly I just want him and Bronson Reed to wrestle each other just to see what would happen. So maybe that's why I would just lean more towards Raw, but yeah, I'll just say Raw. But honestly, you can put him pretty much on either show and he'd be great.
Yeah, that's my answers. Put him on any show, he's gonna be a big deal. He's gonna be the type of performer that's gonna make us forget about Brock Lesnar. I always said it.
Yes.
I said, why do we need Brock Lesnar when we have an Obafemi?
hmm
You know,
Exactly.
you're just gonna want to see him go in there and just beat people up and just use his raw, unmitigated power just to dominate. And I think that's what's gonna make him a big deal is that he's gonna go in there and he's just gonna dominate.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter whether he's on Raw or SmackDown, he's gonna be a big deal. He's definitely gonna be a boost to whatever roster he's on. I'm just excited to see when it's gonna happen.
Yeah. I feel like it's definitely sooner rather than later. You can't put it off anymore. I'd say just the sooner you get him up here, the better.
For sure.
Are we disappointed to see any of the recent AEW contract expirations go? Do you think AEW should have retained any of them?
Mm,
Um,
who they lost? Alex Abrahantes. Who else?
yeah,
There was two
think
more.
let me double check here. Let me pull it up. Matt Taven and Mercedes Martinez.
Yeah, they weren't doing nothing.
Yeah, that's the problem, which is a shame because they could have been, but they just. So I think, I mean, especially in the case of, we'll just say Mercedes Martinez, that women's division is just too good right now. So I feel like she just would have gotten lost rather quickly, which is a shame because she's a solid wrestler. Like, I've always liked Mercedes, but just the way the division was right now, I don't think she would have been able to fit in very well. Instead of being, well, she probably would have just been like a sideline kind of role. She would have probably been someone's like heavy. She would have been a man in like I don't know what Camille should have been, I guess, or something. But that doesn't really get you very far, unfortunately. So yeah, I feel like those three, I don't think I would have kept any of them, honestly. So I'm not really. I feel like I'm just more disappointed to see Mercedes go, but this is going to be her last professional, like full-time wrestling year anyways. So I feel like they probably saw that and they're like, well, I mean, rather you just go do something on the indies and have more bookings and actually have more wrestling time in the last year that you have as a full-time competitor than just sitting at home doing nothing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like that's just the only one I'm really disappointed about. The other two, it's like,
Yeah,
no.
they weren't being used, so it's just like
Yeah.
I didn't
The fact
even
that we
know
had
that.
to look up,
Yeah,
that tells you.
I didn't even know Matt Taven and Mercedes Martinez were still associated with the company.
I didn't either, and that, like I said, the fact that we had to figure that out and Google that live on air pretty much tells you that it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
However, I did hear that there's potentially interest from WWE and Danhausen if he doesn't re-sign with AEW or if they just let him walk. That would be a bit of a shame. I feel like they could have done more with him and for whatever reason just flat out refused to, and I
Right.
don't really know why. And at first I'm like, WWE and him, I'm like, that is not something that I would put in the same sentence. But I guess I think the rumor, it's, and again, take it with a grain of salt. It's just the rumors that they think he'd be a good fit in NXT, which, yeah, I'd say so. It's just, I don't think it would translate as well on the main roster. But again, maybe they might actually give him the chances that AEW wasn't giving him. And, oh, I don't know, actually winning matches might help because there were plenty of matches he had with his run with the AEW where it's like, okay, you got to at least have him win something. Like, you didn't have him be the perpetual loser, but oh, it's Danhausen, so we just still love him no matter what. It's like, yeah, well, more people would have gotten behind him if he actually won something, but I don't know, for whatever reason, I just didn't agree with that. So maybe he'll have a better chance in NXT if that's what he chooses to do, or he could go back to the Indies. I'm not sure. I mean, could always go back to the Indies and go to AEW or to WWE because I worked for Matt Cardona very well, clearly. So you never know. It's never set in stone, but yeah, it's just a shame because I think they could have done a lot more with him in AEW for sure. But
Yeah.
maybe I'm just a little biased.
Mhm.
Alrighty. All right. So our last question of the night kind of comes back to the sports we were talking about earlier. So comes full circle. Uh, if the Jaguars win the Super Bowl, which that's, I don't know about that one. I feel like, I mean, Trevor Lawrence is doing good. I get it, but who knows? At this rate, I don't really know who the Super Bowl what the Super Bowl matchup's going to be. Are the Steelers going to be in it? And wouldn't really put my money on it. But if somehow the Jaguars would win the Super Bowl, Mike wants to know: do we think WWE will send the belt to the team? And if so, is Tony Khan going to post a picture holding it?
I would,
I
because
would laugh.
that
I'd fucking laugh.
that would potentially break the internet.
Oh, it would break the internet. The tribalists would lose their absolute
Yeah,
shit.
yeah. I think I would totally do it. I would totally
Yeah.
do it. And like one side could be like you think of it as petty, but the other side is just it's fucking hilarious. You know, because WWE does that when somebody wins a championship in their sports. You know, they send them the belt and everything like that. So
Yeah.
if they don't send it to the Jaguars, it's gonna be like people are gonna notice. You
Oh,
know?
and they will. And
Yeah,
that's probably what people are gonna like want to. They'll be like sitting on like pins and needles waiting to see if they actually do something. And it's almost like you kind of, at the very least, WWE would have to. I feel like they'd be kind of obligated because, like you said, if they don't, it's gonna look really fucking obvious. So I feel like you have to at least send it, maybe not so much make a big deal out of it.
right.
And if Tony Khan wants to be the ultimate troll, he can be, but for all we know, he might just be like, okay, cool, and then never touches it ever again. But
Yeah,
we have to get there first. But
yeah.
we'll
I'd
no, go
love to
ahead.
see it happen. I'd love to see it happen just to crack up.
I mean, yeah, I mean that would mean we'd have to lose, and I don't want to accept that yet. But I don't know. Us making it into the Super Bowl, I don't know about that one. I'll just be happy if we make it past Monday because we haven't seen a playoff win in 10 years. So it would be, would
That's
be a
so
little nice.
crazy because your coach has a winning record, you know, and you guys haven't
Yeah.
missed the playoffs, right?
No, we've missed them a couple times the last few years, and I think that's like the biggest that's the biggest issue with Tomlin is that his supporters are very quick to say, well, the Steelers have never had a losing season with him. They've never had a losing season. It's like, and what has that got us
Yeah,
in that streak?
right.
What do we have? We've had no playoff wins in 10 years. We haven't had a Super Bowl in I think 16. I think 2010, 2009, 2010, I think was like our last one or out around there. So it's been quite a while. So yeah, I really don't want to hear it because I'd rather be terrible or really good. I don't like being mediocre because it's just frustrating because then you're stuck in the constant hell of, well, we didn't have a losing season, so there's that, but now we have shit draft position and we're gonna not have the best draft picks and we're just gonna do this all over again. And that's pretty much what the Steelers have done the last 10 years is just either we just narrowly miss the playoffs because we couldn't get it done in the regular season, or we just barely make it into the playoffs to get annihilated by somebody in the first round. So I'd like that to not happen on Monday, but it kind of just depends on if our defense holds and if our offense actually remembers to not fall asleep for half the game, because that seems to be the issue with us is that our offense is very Jekyll and Hyde. So maybe we'll wake up and remember how to play football on Monday. So, fingers crossed, but I don't know. I have no expectations. So, I'm just going to be there for the experience just to see how crazy the crowd is cuz it's going to be wild cuz I've seen hockey playoffs before. I've somehow by the grace of God seen baseball playoffs. I've never seen football playoffs live, so this is going to be a wild night on Monday. I might not make it to the podcast on next Tuesday, but we'll see what happens.
Nice, nice. Hopefully you enjoy yourself. Hopefully they get a win. I'll be rooting for you. I'll be rooting
I
for you so you
appreciate
can
it.
see a win.
I'm hoping so. At the end of the day, though, at least the Ravens are out. We don't have to hear about the Chiefs. So you know what? It's not all bad, but we'll report back next week and see how it goes. But
There you have
that
it.
is all of our questions. We did it. We
Nice.
did the recap for World's End. We did the questions and pretty under pretty decent time too.
Nice, nice. Well, thank you guys for submitting your questions and contributing to the show and making it what it is. We appreciate you. We thank you so very, very much. And if you would like to submit a question to the show for us to answer, remember we answer every single question as long as it's wrestling related. We answer every question sent into us. The best way to do is every Monday afternoon. I post up a tweet on Twitter asking you guys to submit your questions at Ringside Rundown on Twitter. All you have to do is just submit your question underneath that tweet and we'll be able to answer it on the show. I'm also starting to post up on Facebook a lot more. So if you join our Facebook, facebook.com/ringside rundown, you'll also see the posting for questions there too if you feel more comfortable asking your question on Facebook. And for the tech wizards out there, we also have a Discord server. The link to our Discord server is in the description of the podcast. So all you have to do is click that link. There is a channel in the Discord server for podcast questions. If you would like us to answer a question, just drop it in the Discord server and we'll answer it there. So thank you again to everyone who participated and contributed to the show, asking us questions. We appreciate it. Now, for the particulars, this podcast is available all across the board on all podcast platforms. All you have to do is just search Ringside Rundown, hit the follow or subscribe button, and you'll never miss an episode. We try to come out with an episode every week for you guys to listen to, so that way you have some goodness, some good content talking about wrestling. So check us out on all podcast platforms. If you do not have a particular podcast platform that you use, the show is also available on our YouTube channel at Ringside Run Pod on YouTube. Full episodes there. If you have a particular platform that you use but you don't find the podcast on it, let us know. Send us a DM. Let us know what platform you use. We'll get you a link to that platform on a silver platter. But the caveat is you have to give us back the silver platter because it belongs to Shay's mom, and she used to be a deathmatch wrestler.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
she's very apropos to use light tubes. So unless you want a light tube to the skull, give us back the silver platter.
And there's a pizza cutter in my kitchen as we speak, so you don't want her to get that out, please.
There you
Like,
go. Like I
no one
said,
wants to see it.
yeah, nobody wants to see that. So we're all across the board on social media, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, at Ringside Rundown. Check us out every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. We do live streams on Twitch and YouTube of AEW and WWE programming. Twitch.tv/Ringside Rundown. Shay, where can they get in touch with you?
You can find me on my wrestling Twitter at Shay Ringside _, just like Eric's, except I copied the homework a little bit
Yep, she
and just
stole
took
my
my name.
gimmick. She stole my gimmick, ladies and gentlemen.
Hey, you got your title back. Don't complain.
That's right.
You got the predictions title for now.
That's right. Well, we'll be back with another episode next week answering more of your questions about professional wrestling. Once again, send us in a question, contribute to the show, and we'll answer it on the show, no problem. Thank you very much for listening to this episode. For Shay Hickson, my name is Erik Vasquez, and we'll catch you on the next one, guys. Take care.
See you later, guys.